Hi, I'm Brittany Buckner, and my video is going to be about the importance of social emotional learning in schools, mostly in reference to success in the primary grades. Really, the first thing I wanted to start talking about was the first step of learning really requires an independent emotional regulation. This means that a child is not concerned with earning rewards in order to regulate their emotions, but is able to do it on their own without outside stimuli. So, for example, getting kids to the point where you're releasing them of relying on things like dojo points, your school-wide PBIS buck system, clipping up or clipping down. Obviously, all those things are really good, and they serve a purpose for classroom management and behavior. But I think where we're really wanting to help children is kind of releasing those as they move on through the grades. Specifically in second grade, I think by the end of second grade, they should be able to self-regulate without having those as an option as much. Obviously, they're always going to be there and they serve a purpose, but if we can get children to the point where they're doing the right thing without those, I think that is ideal. Obviously, you have special kids and special kind of situations that require maybe something a little different. But I'm really, the first kind of simple things I really wanted to hit on as far as emotional regulation goes, and the steps for a successful early child in the early years, in early grades, I should say, is sitting in one spot without moving. If our children can't sit and listen for an extended period of time, obviously, that being developmentally appropriate, I'm thinking, I've always heard it's about what their age is. So 5 minutes for kindergartners, 5-6 minutes for kindergartners, 6-7 minutes for first graders, 7-8 minutes for second graders. I personally think that, and I could be wrong, but I personally think that a second grader should be able to sit on the carpet with their legs crossed and listening for up to about 15 minutes. I don't think that's too much to ask. Beyond that, I can see where the wiggles may start to come out. But listening without talking. And that is a huge one. And especially when children come from chaos, they're not used to that. They're used to hearing family members and friends and people around them always talking, always being loud, and most oftentimes people talking all at once, and that is the norm for them. When they come to school, we have this expectation that when the teacher is talking, you have to be quiet in order to be actively listening. That is really important for children to understand, and they really aren't going to be able to actively listen and digest information until they're ready to stop talking themselves. Another thing is being okay when you have a big feeling. That means that if you are hungry, if you're thirsty, if you're sad, angry, embarrassed, or confused, how are you going to react to those things? I know this is really hard with kindergarten sometimes. Say that you have an expectation that if you're on the carpet and that's where your direct instruction is being delivered, then children may not leave your room at the time to go get a drink or use the restroom. Sometimes, is this even record? I think so. Sometimes that can be really difficult for them. It can be really frustrating because you're delaying their needs. And if you think about it, as babies and toddlers, you are giving them their needs almost when they need it. And then as they get older, they have to delay those needs for whatever reason. So that's hard for children to understand. If they aren't used to that, if they aren't used to a structured setting where they're going to have to wait, and how to be okay when others are not okay. If someone else is crying, if someone else is doing something wrong, how is that going to affect them, the other student? I think we need to teach children that it is okay to let it go and just worry about yourself. That's another really valid skill. Social skills, how to ask for things and not get overwhelmed by those big feelings again. How to allow adults to help you when you are confused, when you are angry. How to ask for something you may need, like food, a tissue, help, a hug. Maybe you just need a hug. How do you ask for those things? Maybe you just need to use the restroom, get a drink. I think, especially when we're talking about kindergarten, I think that sometimes it can be strange to ask an adult to, I really need to use the restroom, about you to just, lose it. That can be kind of scary. So that's something that we need to teach to certain children that aren't used to having an adult that they don't know take care of them. This can be a really new thing for some children. And really embedding these practices into our curriculum, I think, is really important, so that we're setting our children up for success not only in our own classrooms, but as they progress through later grades. Because, honestly, we know that second grade is the last year that you're taught to read. Third grade is the year where it is where you read to learn and not learn to read. If you don't have the social emotional skills to sit, listen, and learn by the time you leave the primary grades, then you are in major trouble when you leave. That means that most likely you do not know how to read, and you have passed your time. Let's see, I made some more bullet points. How to get a teacher's attention. You don't hit your teacher. You don't tap your teacher. You don't yell in your teacher's face. Those are all really important things, because by 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, they don't got time for that. Using your manners, such as please, thank you, you're welcome. Not raising your voice at people when you have a big emotion. Not snatching. That's a big one. How do we not snatch? But ask for something nicely and then wait for it to be given to you. So why are these all important? I think these are all really important skills, like I said before, because if you don't learn them, especially in the primary grades, enough to really learn your foundational skills, and especially start reading, then you are in so much trouble. And so I think embedding these skills within our curriculum, integrating them in it, is absolutely important, because it used to be that these skills were taught at home by parents. I don't think they're being taught anymore. I think that parents are overloaded with jobs and trying to provide for their children, that maybe they don't have the time to teach these, and not even only teach them, but model them, be good models for the students, because honestly, that is one of the most effective ways of teaching, and parents are the first teachers that our children will ever meet. So by the time they get to us, we may need to teach replacement skills, so coping skills. We know that if children don't have coping skills by the time they leave school, we know that they're more likely to turn to things like drugs and alcohol to cope, and other forms of coping skills that really aren't helpful. Resources, let's see here. So different resources we can look at to help us infuse social emotional learning into the curriculum are our morning circle, where we go over greeting, sharing, our activity, and our morning message, our collaborative classroom rules, our quiet time, learning how to wind down and just be in silence. What does that feel like? What does that look like? It's hard at first, and it takes a lot of practice for certain students. And then closing circle, reflect on our time together, reflect on our goals that we set in the beginning of the day, bring closing to the end of the day, and then our BIST, so our 3 goals for life. I can be okay even when others are not okay. It's a big one. I can be okay when I have a strong emotion. I can do something even if I don't want to do it, or I know it's hard. And I think if we can help our children learn these skills, then they'll be overall better learners, better listeners, and better citizens. So that wraps up my importance of social emotional learning in schools and success in the primary grades. Thank you.